Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today I will talk about the literature review. It is one of the most important component in the research report. Yeah, before going into detail, let me explain what actually we will discuss throughout this presentation. So we'll talk about what is literature review and why it is important, and some of the major misconceptions about literature review and common problem when writing literature review, and proper steps of conducting literature review, and we'll also do some practice. But since I am taking this online video, then therefore I will give you some hand-on practice of literature review at the end of this video. And we'll also talk about some of the APA referencing, how we make proper citations and key guidelines for writing effective literature review. So hopefully we'll cover these all agenda in this video. So first of all, what comes in your mind when you think about the literature review? People think that literature review means to reviewing any literature. It is by definition, or by this terminology, it seems like this, to review any literature. But in reality, it is something different. Like literature review is a systematic, organized, analytic collection of all scholarly writing on a topic in the form of scholarly work that include academic journals, books, conference proceedings, dissertations, technical reports, websites, and other internet resources. Now, it is important to understand this literature review is not only that include all these things, academic, scholar journals, books, but most important thing that makes literature review is that it should be a systematically organized, analytical. So these three are key terms in literature review. In other words, if you review any article and cite that article, if you review any book and cite that book, that does not consider as a literature review until it goes the systematically organized analytical procedure. Now, what exactly systematically organized analytical collection is, we'll talk about in later slides. So, as I told you, literature review a critically analytical summary and a synthesis of the current knowledge of a topic. Compare and relate different theories and findings, should have a focused theme to organize the review, does not need to be exhaustive but should not cover significant academic literature. You might heard one of the terminologies, systematic literature review. Now, systematic literature review is something different, and literature review is something different. In systematic literature review, which usually systematic literature review actually one of the research type in which research collect data from all the published articles, and that is exhaustive article. But in generally, when we write any article, conduct any research, we only follow, specific literature and include that, not only all articles. Now, how literature review look like? Literature is a continuous evolving network that interacts with each other. Now, as you can see, this map, web, this is everything is connected with everything. Which means that when you do any literature, your one idea should connect the other idea. The other idea should lead to the third idea, and the third idea lead to tell the reader that what exactly you want to do and why this thing, why the thing is important for the community. Well, your literature review is the backbone of your research, as I told you, because this backbone tells that why your research is important and what is the need of that research. So, in any research, data methodology is important, data analysis is important, recommendation is important. But above all, literature review is even more important. That tells that why the things you are conducting is important for the society or for the academia. So, it is important that you should conduct a literature review that give a ground to the reader and reviewer that what exactly you want to do and why this thing is important. So it provides a context, sets the scene, demonstrates knowledge of current theory, definition, terminologies, and provide rationales, justify why you are choosing your topic, and tells a story that leads to your research question or topic. So see, in other words, this literature, the literature review provides a ground, or it provides a platform that platform for you to tell the reader and reviewer that why this research is important and what is the logic behind this and what is the background variables are there and how this study will be useful for the society or community. Literature reviews in research work is in the base that gives evidently support to the research and its possible claim. It's also helped to find what is already known and what is need to be done. So in other words, the research gap can be found doing a literature review. Where does literature review fit? So here you can see one diagram. Like for example, my research problem and what has already been found, what I did to find answer, how am I going to find the answer I found, and what is the answer mean. Now if you see this map is actually this 5 or 6, this is actually the complete our any article, thesis or research report, this all things we done. My research problem, which usually the first chapter in which we discuss introduction, significance, research problem, objective. What is already been found in this and what I did to find answer. So this kind of literature review, literature review. And if you see that how am I going to find the answer, this is methodology. The answer I found, this is results. And what the answer means, this is recommendations and conclusion. So as you can see, this whole cycle represent one incomplete research report, article or thesis. So as you can see, what has already been found and what I did to the find answer, this kind of literature fits in literature review. And why we do research report literature review? When thinking about literature reviews, we need to think about what is the purpose of literature review. It is I mean, as I told you that most of the students, most of the scholars think that literature review means to find what already known. It is yes one thing that what is already known, but it's also important that you should know that whatever is known, how you can write it in your literature review section. So it should be organized and analytical. So so this is the activity which I am leaving here. In pair, discuss what you think about literature is for and jot down your ideas on your paper. So this activity actually tells me and tell yourself that what are the misconceptions about the literature review. So we can talk about later on. Purpose of literature reviewing is to develop basic to advanced knowledge, get your concept clear in any theme, to develop skills in methodology, to be able to justify methodology, to identify deficiencies so that you can justify that need to be some research. So as you can see, the purpose of literature review is also get a theory, background theory, is also tell you the methodology that you want to use. It also tell you the gap in existing research so that you can justify what you want to do in your research. Function of literature review: establish research context, show why the question is significant, to give an overview of controversies in past research, illustrate and describe previous research including gaps and flaws, ensure that research has not been done before. So these are the main functions, or in other words main purpose of doing a literature review. So as you can see that in literature review, you should also discuss some of the controversies of theories in the past, and also if you find some of the flaws in the existing research, then you can also discuss in literature review. And see that these are not the bullet, this is the checklist. So in other words, that you can do as much as you can in literature review section. And these are other functions of literature review: understand the structure of the problem, demonstrate your knowledge of the field, synthesize previous prospect and develop your own prospect. Point the way of future research, to show similarities and differences are consistencies and inconsistencies previous research. Now this is one of diagram that is that how literature review should be done. So for example, this a blue square indicate a major work, and then major works lead to the other studies related to the major one. So for example, if I am talking about learning theories, so this can be a one learning theory, and then they're based on this one learning theory, how many studies has been conducted related to this learning theory. Again, this is B and this is C. So as you can see, these connected lines indicate this learning theory A should be connected to learning theory B, and then the study should also be interconnected. In other words, when you read articles, when you read thesis, when you write it in your literature review section, you should connect one idea to another idea. Now this idea actually lead to develop another idea. In other words, so if you have learning theory 1, learning theory B, and learning theory C, and learning theory has this kind of study, learning theory B has this kind of thing, so you can find a gap where you can tell the reader that this is something not available in the published articles or thesis, so here I want you to, so this is something new you want to propose. So this actually tells that this is the gap you found, and then this is something that you want to do in your study. So this is basic structure of literature review. In literature review, first you have to introduce a problem and context. So again, if I'm talking about teacher's sense of efficacy, so in first section I'll talk about the introduction of back problem in the context, that why the problem is important and what makes this problem is a problem. So this is in first section, and then background of theory. So I will talk about, for example, if I'm talking about teacher's sense of efficacy, I may talk about Bandura theory, other learning theories that lead to the teacher's sense of efficacy. In the third, highlight the development of major concept influential studies. So based on this theory, a background theory, I will see how many studies, related studies or influential study has been done based on this theory. So I will cite those theories. And then the fourth section, studies that focus on the area, agreement, modification of design, narrowing the focus of studies closest to your own. So for example, my study is I want to conduct teacher sense of efficacy in primary school, in secondary school teachers, both pre-service and in-service teachers. So I will more focus on teacher sense of efficacy related to school teacher rather than the university or other teacher. So again, I will cite the studies that agree with my design or that doesn't agree with my designs. So I will focus on area and modification, and also discuss some of the flaws in the existing studies, so that I can claim that why my study is important. And then finally identify the gap where your research fits. So you can see that you can write that I found this thing, and this thing, and I found this thing also, but that has some kind of flaw. That's why I want to do this thing. So when you write literature in this systematic organized way, then the reader or the reviewer convinced that you have done extensive literature, and that's why you can convince the reader and reviewer that why your research is important, or what is actually the gap and where your research fits in that gap. And sum up, link sum up and link to your research. And finally, you have to conclude or sum up all the connected dots and that make a link to your existing research. So that actually literature review provides a baseline for your argument that can help you to convince reader and reviewer that why this research is important. So I can give example like a lawyer. When he puts when he or she puts any case in front of court, so he makes any statements. He tells a problem statement and context, then he tells some of the background of the case, and then highlights some of the major concept, and then he also quotes some of the examples of related, and then also tell why his client is innocent, and then at the end he said that since I told you this all things, how my client is innocent, he should be granted bail. So it's actually when a lawyer present a case in front of court, So he is also doing some kind of literature review. So in similar way, we have to do a literature review in this organized and structured way that can help you to understand, to convince reader and reviewer that why this research is important. And this is actually another way of understanding the structure of literature review, the journal context. Journal context means theme, finding, theories, debate, focus on the area. And then the gaps. Gaps means what has been unanswered questions, missing element, conflict or findings. One thing you should also understand that if there are different studies, one study agree on one point, another study agree on another point, that can also be a gap. So you can conduct a research and to validate one school of thoughts, ideas. So gap can also be studies that have a different opinion, different findings. And then my research. So this is also another way of writing a literature review, and journal context, gaps, and my research, which means where my research fits into the existing gap. Okay, before going to the other details, let me introduce one more terminology, that is end-noted bibliographs. End-noted bibliography, I just copy one provided definition from one of the source. End-noted bibliography is a list of citations to book, articles, and documents. Each citation is followed by a brief, usually about 150 word description evaluation paragraph. The purpose of end notion is to perform the reader to relevance, accuracy, and equality of source cited. So in other words, when you read any article and summarize it in 150 words or one paragraph, that is end-noted bibliography. It's just like a descriptive and evaluating paragraph of that article or that thesis. So ring a bell. Look like this is all usually research students do. They only write a end-noted bibliography rather than literature review. So let me tell you this, that this is not a literature review. When, for example, you say Jones 2000 argued that blah 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 blah, he also stated that blah blah blah, however he believes that blah blah blah. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, in recent article Young outline a new method, blah blah blah, and paragraph 3, paragraph 4. Now why this is not literature review? See, the second paragraph does not have any connection with the first paragraph, and first paragraph has no connection with the previous paragraph. Each paragraph in academic writing, each paragraph should contain only one idea, but later on paragraph should connect with the previous idea, so that there should be a consistency and coherence in the writing. So if you cite one article, write in one paragraph, cite another article, another paragraph, this is not a literature review. And most of the students and field students or our undergraduate students do this kind of practice. They just read one article and just highlight, put in paraphrasing way, and they pretend that they did a literature review, which is actually not a literature review. So what is not literature review? A literature review is not an end-noted bibliography. As I told you that if you read one article and make a summary of that article, write one paragraph, one sentence, that is not an end-noted bibliography. A list of unrelated sources, an exhaustive bibliography on everything ever written on the topic. A repetition of what each article book reported. So it is also important that do not repeat one citations every time. AP also provide one format that if you find similar things, similar information in different articles, you can cite both articles, but you have to write that information only one time. An argument about the importance of your research, a list of questions are summarized, abstract, absence of your voice. Now it is also important that if your voice is not here, it is not a literature review. In other words, when you write something from existing literature, then you also write your own opinion, your own views. Now usually students do, they read any articles, and when they find any literature review, they just paraphrase it, and they say that we wrote this paraphrase. I know that they wrote this paraphrase, but still absent of why. Their whys is absent. Their whys is absent means they should write what they found and why this finding is important. Like they can say that XYZ researcher, the sample size of researcher was too small, therefore the results may be doubtful. They can argue on the methodology, or they can just analyze their findings. So their whys is very important. Now where to start is one of the most difficult things in any task, like in literature review as well. You don't need to read everything you got. So you don't need to read every text, you don't need to read every word. So basically when you do a literature review, it is better to Google some of the articles and write the titles. If title is appealing to you, read the abstracts. If abstract is appealing to you, then go to the findings or at the end conclusion section. You don't need to read the literature review of every articles. Okay, so for example, if one article published and if their topic is related to your topic, then you just simply go to either abstract section or at the end conclusion and finding section, because the conclusion will provide a brief overview that what the researcher found and how that information can be useful in your own literature. Now, skill required for the writing literature review. Writing literature review required some of the basic skill which every researcher must have. That includes analytical thinking, that includes academic writing. And I also jot down some of the few more skills. A literature review requires different skills, right, of different process. That one is search and selection skills. So since we usually do the literature using internet, then the search skill should also be there. Now, for example, if you search anything from in the Google, so let me, for example, if I want to search teacher sense of efficacy and then Pakistan. Now, if I put a double quotation on any keyword, then it will find any article that have the word Pakistan. So, for example, I am teacher sense of efficacy in Pakistan. Now, see how many results found. Almost 2 million. Okay. Now, if I put the double quoted here, because this Google search find every article, every report, every thesis that have the word teacher sense of efficacy in Pakistan. But if I put a double quotation in Pakistan, it will search only those article report that must have Pakistan word. Now see, 2.7 and it's become now 1.7. If I put teacher sense of efficacy also in double quoted, now 7,000. So see, this searching techniques actually narrow down your related articles. So you don't need to spend lot of time in finding your literature. You can simply write your keywords, put in double quoted, and then simply search it. And if you put the plus sign, there is also and sign. And plus sign. Actually, if here in this situation, it find every article that have either teacher sense of efficacy or Pakistan word. But if you plus an and sign, it shows everything that have these two terminologies. So this searching technique is also very important. And the other thing is reading. If any one of you have any issue in this searching or selection skills, please let me know. I will help. I will be happy to help. And reading comprehension skills, again reading comprehension skills. And to be honest, I am not in good reading, but still I am able to conduct a good literature review, because you don't need, as I told you, don't need to read everything in the article. Just go to the title. If title is appealing, go to the abstract. If abstract creates interest in you, go to the methodology or conclusion sections. So if if everything interests you, then you can read the whole article. So you don't need to read whole article of every article. You can shortlist the number of articles by reading just title and abstract. That is skills analysis and evaluation skills, which means that when you read article, you should also analyze that what is the quality of that research, what is the which journal is it published, and whether it is trustworthy or not, or the third the thing that can I trust the result, whether the methodology was fine or were there any problems. So this kind of thing you need to analyze and evaluate. And finally, synthesis and writing skills. So once you read it, once you are fine with its quality, then you can jot down some information and write in your thesis. Literature review is not an easy task, and you should admit it. It's not easy task. It's not. People think it is easy task only because they write not a literature review, they write and noted bibliographies. So literature review is not easy because you are trying to coordinate many sources. You are trying to convert a cowboy of ideas into a linear sequence, which is like this. And then you are trying to handle ideas in which you are still yet to fully master. And then your task is to move from chaotic to the organized way. So everything is scattered. Everything is scattered ideas and articles, and you need to organize those things in a systematic way. So that's not an easy task. So this is the literature review. One article, second article, third article, library, books, net, source, everything, and then you convert in an organized way. This is the literature review. A common problem with the literature review called losing your focus. How do I know if I am getting anywhere? So this is a common problem that they lose the way. They don't know where to start and whether they are going in the right direction or. I would suggest that whenever you want to do a literature review, write the keywords in a Google and just search the related article. Go check the abstract, check the title and then abstract, and then the last section. It will tell you that what is the missing gap in existing research. When any researcher publish article, he also mentioned the limitations of study. So that limitations of study also tells you, a reader, that what is the existing gap. So if you want to find the topic for your research, if you want to the suitable title, or then you can. One way is also read the article and check their limitation section, because the limitations will tell you that what is the missing gap and how someone can do the research in similar topic in a different way. So some researchers also mention direction for future researchers. That also can lead you the generate an ideas for conducting any research. The second point, what should I take notes on? And writing a summary of each article one by one, paragraph by paragraph, without integrating the material. These are the common problems. Writing a whole history of the field rather than identifying the major issues. You do not need to write the history of the field. You do not write any history. You just need to specific and to the point ideas related to your specific research. Not having a clarity throughout the structure that leads to identifying where you start fits into the literature. These are the common problems. Now, other trapping that when researcher trying to read everything. As I told you, you do not need to read everything. You have to read it, but you do not need to read everything. And reading but not writing. So if you continuously reading and not writing, that reading will not help you to write. So since the whole purpose of your doing the reading is to write a literature review, so as long as you read any article, any thesis, write the keywords, put in the idea form or rough form, and just write in your paper or in MS Word file, and then later on you can convert that idea in a bullet form, idea of that bullet form into sentence structure. And not keeping adequate bibliographic information. It is also important that when you find any article, research, just save it, put in write reference list, so that in future you can retrack it, and you can. These references, this bibliography will provide a source for you, so you can come back again and check the detail. What is ineffective literature review? So ineffective literature review, unclear, poor sentence that obscures the message. That is unclear in the message what exactly researcher wants to say, and vague, imprecise languages, too much jargons. If you use too much technical words in literature review, it is not effective. You should use simple, plain English, not enough or too much information. So see, so a small number of citations or too many citations is also an ineffective literature review. Does not have a logical sequence of content presented. Now it is very important, logical sequence. Logical sequence means first idea should connect to the second idea connect to the third idea. That's why the reader will have an interest to read your article. A reviewer will have an interest to read your article or thesis or whatever report you are presenting. Full of typos, poorly formatted, improper use of transitional words. Transitional words means however, but, therefore, moreover, in contrast. These are the transitional words. So transitional words is also very useful, and it actually generates idea that what next comes after the previous sentence. So whenever someone reads the one sentence and when transition words comes, so immediately the idea comes in his or her mind that what the research is about to say. So translational words is also important. Use proper translational words. Checklist for effective literature review. Whenever you conduct any literature review, then make sure that you put this all check. They have accurately presented the author view. Is source material research content current and relevant to the thesis topic? Have I shown relationship between sources, which I told you that logical sequence should be present? Is there a clear connection between thesis topic and the literature review? All the sources documented accurately. Have I used effective translational from idea to idea, source to source, paragraph to paragraph? C. Have I used effective translations from idea to idea, source to source, paragraph to paragraph, like however, in contrast, on the other hand, moreover, likewise. So these are the translation words that should be used properly to connect one idea to another idea, one paragraph to another paragraph. Is my analysis of sources well developed? Have I represented all conflict arguments, ideas, sites fairly? So these are the checklists. The last thing, that have I represented all conflict argumentative sites fairly? So in every research, usually there are two school of thoughts. One have this kind of narrative, other have a different narrative. So when you conduct any literature review, whichever theory you are using, you should also use the counter argument, so that the reader or reviewer know that you know the other point of view as well. So when you do any literature review, write things that in favor of your opinion, write the things that are against of your narrative. So write the both narratives and write your own analysis. So this both narrations will help the reader or reviewer that you know the both point of view, and then your analysis will help reader that what is your opinion and how you will conduct your research. Use language to take a stance. Like paragraph 1, within the literature there are two main arguments researcher tends to make. Paragraph 2, the first argument emphasizes however. This does not counterpart. So this however indicate that the coming sentence is negation of the first sentences. The second argument builds on the previously modeled by both viewpoints are able to however. Again, this however indicates that this research will draw most upon the second, because now this line, this research will draw most upon the is actually author wise. So like the first argument emphasized however, this does not account for. So this does not account for is a author wise. In other words, if I am doing a research, the first argument I need to emphasize on, this is the citations, this is the information I am using from argument identity, while however this does not account for, this is the line I am writing by myself, this is my analysis. So however, this research will draw most upon the second, because this is my analysis, this is my writing, this is my voice. So it is important that you use a language to take a stance. So you should also write what you think. So if a researcher, if you found something and what you think, you can write either you are in favor of that viewpoint or you are against of it. In both ways, you should write your stance. A simple paragraph of translations words. So see, if you can see, in fact, they have also, in addition, likewise, furthermore, to, also, thus. These are the translation words that indicate that, because this actually gives the idea to the reader and reviewer that immediately click in his or her mind that, like, in addition, which means the next coming sentence will be somehow will provide in same evidence like the previous one. Likewise, which means the coming sentence or coming findings will be almost same like the previous sentence. Furthermore, which means the coming sentence, this next sentence will be additional evidence related same as the previous sentence. So this translation helps the reader and viewer to understand the concept quickly. Your voice should guide the review. Your interpretation demands your words, not a patchwork of the quotations or paraphrase paragraph of the other author. Your interpretation is very important, like as I mentioned you that in previous slides, like let me show again. However, this research will most importantly, in addition to these are the translation words that can be useful for researcher to put his or her own voice. So use sign point words to demonstrate how texts relate to each other and also what you think of them. However, yet, moreover, indeed, similarly. These kind of keywords, translation words, can be used by researcher to write what he thinks about the. So these are the languages you can take to make your point of view, take a stance. So for example, showing strong commitment, showing agreement, and showing cautious agreement. For example, drawing on these sources, it is clear that, in summary, it is beyond doubt that, hence it does not come as a surprise that, emphasize on to that strongest argument is made by. So this implies it gives a strong commitment. The researcher have a strong commitment on the research findings by those particular specific researchers. And this shows the agreement. The following issues demonstrate that. The examples gives earlier show that Chord provides a useful approach to this dimension of sustainability is more comprehensive because. So see, this shows the agreement of researcher. So if you are conducting any research, if you have a strong commitment, you can use these kind of phrases. If you agree with already research findings and information, you can use these phrases. And this can be showing cautious agreements, like Hancock hypothesis that on a larger scale these discussions suggest that, which means that being a researcher, I'm not saying this thing. It's someone else is saying, someone else is suggesting. Thus these arguments imply, which means that you are not saying that this argument suggests that. You are not saying these argument prove that. You are saying these arguments imply that, which means it is my understanding that what that argument is implying. So which means these are kind of phrases a researcher can use to show agreement with cautions. And like this is also another paragraph in flow. So it's basic in academic writing. Every paragraph have a topic, sentence, discussion of the topic, and closing sentence. So thematic and grammatical links, logical progression from one paragraph to the next, demonstrate links to the language. So translation words are one of the link in the languages. Avoid single sentences paragraph. Usually again in APA format, APA writing styles, single sentence paragraph is not recommended. And these are the elements of the good writing. Replace vague or subjective phrase into quantifiable term. For example, if you are using a tall, it is better to use number 2 meters, 3 meters, whatever, because tall maybe have a different meaning to the different readers. Similarly, many researchers says, or many educations argued it. What does this many means? If you have a findings, if you have a results, write in a quantifiable numbers, more than 80%, more than 20%, like. Again, most are significant results. So if you are quoting any of the previous results, significant result found, it is also better to provide a numerical results or provide effect size, because if there is something a significant result, it does not mean that they have a difference. I mean, they may have a differences, but that difference, the magnitude of that difference is also very meaningful. So for example, job satisfaction. If male and female have a significant job satisfaction differences, that does not give me a full information until or unless I know the effect size, because effect size tells the magnitude of the differences between male and female emotional intelligence or job satisfaction. So whenever you write a result is significant, or when you are cite that blah 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 researcher found a significant difference or significant correlation, it is better to write effect size or numerical result, R value, T value. It will help the reader that the previous findings, the magnitude of the difference or magnitude of the correlation of the previous findings. So again, having a significant result is only a partial information, but having an effect size tells you the full information. Now, what does it mean by to think critically? Well, actually, it's one of the, as I mentioned in earlier slides, that's one of the key skills of the researcher. Does not necessarily mean that criticizing. It means to think analytically with reasons. It can mean identifying strength and weaknesses, but also simply putting two ideas next to each other in an interesting way. Area of critics can be credibility of source, author, publications. So whenever you do research, you can also criticize author or publication or journal name. Accuracy of underlying assumptions, rigors of the study design. If you find any flaw in the study design, you can also criticize it. And if the author did not follow the assumptions, you can also criticize on underlying assumptions. Inappropriate methodology, theory, sample size, low sample size, or different statistical technique or interpretation of data, you can also criticize in your literature. Your interpretation of findings, logic of conclusion. Next, I'm going to tell you the process of citations. Again, I'll make another video of APA formatting and citations, but since citations is somehow related to literature review, that's why I'm thinking to add a couple of slides, take a 5 to 6 minutes to discuss about how you can do these citations. So see, if you use a direct quote, if you put a direct quote from any article, any thesis, and you want to write in your thesis, in your research report, you should cite it. Okay. It is also important that do not take a direct quote frequently. Put a direct quote only if that information is very have a strong wording, or if you think if you paraphrase it will lose its meaning. Then in that case you can use a direct quote. Otherwise, avoid direct quotation. If you paraphrase any of the article, any research, any finding, any information, any theory, if you paraphrase it, which means that you wrote by yourself, but the idea someone else, still you need to cite it. And then if you use someone else's theory, idea, or information, again you need to cite it. So see, in all cases you have to cite it. You don't need to cite only if you you are writing a common sentences or common phrases. For example, if you are writing education is a core element of any society or any country development, that does not need to be cited because there is no need for any evidence to claim this proof, so because it is obvious. So you must cite when you are using a direct quote, when you are paraphrasing an idea, article, idea or concept, when you are providing a statistics or fact, when you are making a general statement or claim that requires evidence. So if you say that male students are perform well in mathematics than female students, it is a claim. You need an evidence for that. Use an idea from another source. Again, you need to cite it. Theory or model, if you are using, adopting, then or even validating, you need to cite it. Using someone else's graph, model or table, you need to cite it. Or provide supplementary evidence, you also need to cite it. When in doubt, cite your source. Now this is point, you don't have to cite facts which are commonly known by your audience or easily verified in the reference source. And I'll tell you some of the examples later on. Reason to cite: when you cite your sources to let the reader know that what the original source of your information is, and to give more credibility to the information you present by referencing expert opinion, ideas and facts. So because the one of the major reason of citing that the information you are presenting, you are providing additional source or information to the reader that this claim is not made by me, this claim is made by another researcher, and for more information you can look for that article or thesis. To let your reader identify and retrieve the sources you use for your own use, to give credibility to the person whose idea you have quoted, summarized or paraphrased, and to avoid plagiarism and copyright law violation by giving credit to the work of others. So the major purpose of citations, giving citations, is not to avoid plagiarism, it is actually to strengthen your studies. You can avoid plagiarism even without citing a source, like paraphrasing, but it's a cheating, it's unethical means. So you should always think that you are citing because it is very useful for your own study. It will strengthen your study. It will provide evidence that you are doing, whatever you are doing is not a unique thing. I mean, if someone else also saying this thing, so it actually validates your ideas. So this is the activity which I wanted to conduct, but since you are not live present here, so but you can when you are watching this video, you can think that answer in your mind. For example, the question is, which would you cite? You need to cite. Now, on 8 October 2000, Pakistan was hit by a devastating earthquake. What do you think? Do you need to cite this information, even if it is have a fact and figure? And I'm giving you 10 seconds. Do you need to cite it? I don't think you need to cite it. You know why? Because this is the common information available on the internet. If you write that on 8 October 2000, Pakistan was hit by a devastating earthquake, this claim does not need any evidence because this is the fact, and this fact can be easily checked or verified through internet. But if you write that on 8 October 2000, Pakistan is hit by a devastating earthquake and more than 2 million people were died, then that information needs to be cited because you are claiming more than 2 million people will die, which need an evidence. But 8 October 2000, Pakistan was hit by a earthquake. That information does not need to cite because it's a common information. It is easily verified, already available. So no need for citation. More than 70% youth in Pakistan uses social networking sites. Do you need to cite it? I think you need to cite it. Why? Because this 70% youth in Pakistan is actually one of the claim or one of the fact. How did you get this 70%? You need to provide a citation, a source where you got this 70% youth in Pakistan use social networking sites. So you need to cite it. There is an emerging trend of use of technology in education. Do you need to cite it? I don't think you need to cite it because we are living 21st century and everywhere technology is common. So there is no surprise to say that there is an emerging trend of use of technology in education. So there is no need to cite it. However, if you use any citations, it will be useful or additional information for the reader. But there is no need to cite it because it's a common phrase or common sentence, and this is a common trend we can see in our society. The use of technology improves students' achievement. Now we need to cite it because this is a claim. This is a claim that technology can improve students' achievement. How do you know that technology can improve student achievement? Do you have any evidence? Do you have any study? Then you need to cite it. Education is an integral part of any society. Do you need to cite it? I don't think so. Because it is a common sentence, it is a common fact that education is important. It is very important. It's an integral part of any society. So I don't think you need to cite it. Female teachers have higher job satisfaction than male teachers. Again, this is a claim. This is a claim. There is a generalized statement that female teachers have higher job satisfaction than male teachers. Therefore, you need to cite it. So these are the more details about how you can make citations. So see, for example, if as in previous slide I mentioned you that you do not need to cite a multiple sentences, multiple informations. You can provide one information and put two author names. So this Ketchrew and Smith 2000, which means this information can be available in these both articles. So if that's why this semicolon separate those two different studies. So this information can be verified using these two studies. And these are the more details about in-text citations, which I will later on tell you in APA formatting. I'll make a video about APA formatting in detail, and since APA 7th is available, so currently I am working on APA 7th edition, and then I'll make a video on APA 7th edition. So I hope that you got an idea how you can do this literature review and effective literature review. And literature review is not simply writing sentences, citing sources in paragraph to paragraph form, but it's also a logical sequence, organized way of writing various studies. These are the some rational words or phrases that you can use in your literature review section. On the other hand, on the one hand, respond to elaborate, respond goes beyond, misinterpret, criticize, confuses, reinforce, rejects. These are the some online resources which is very helpful for doing an effective literature review. And these are the English word power, clarity English, and referencing style, academic word list. Academic word list. So actually, when you see a word, it sentence generates in your mind. So when you see this academic word list, it will help you to make a writing in your for literature review. Other online resources, these are the literature review that will help you to make a effective literature review. So at the end, what is a good literature review? Good literature review is a synthesis of available research, is a critical evaluation, has appropriate breadth and depth, has clarity and concise, use rigorous and consistent methods. A poor literature review is endnoted bibliography. Endnoted bibliography means writing one source in one paragraph, writing one source in paragraph, and there is no link between among one paragraph to other paragraph. Confined to descriptions, narrow and shallow, confusing and long-winded, constructed in an arbitrary way. So this is poor literature and this is a good literature. I expect that after watching this video you are able to make literature review in this way, in an organized way, synthesis clear way. Journal tips that do not just take notes, write as you read. This cuts down your 90% of your workload. I myself, when I read any article, when I check any abstract, when something attracts me, some information, I just simply write that sentence in the MS Word file. Because it will save my time. I do not reread this article again. So write as you need, as you read. That will cut down your 90% workload. Cite as you go. You will not have to go back to examine your source. So when you write one information, one things, just put it the citation, put the references, so that it will reduce your work. And because after all you have to make a reference list. So if you make a reference list side by side as you make citations, then it will be easier for you. You can either maintain a separate section for each author, or you can create section that deals with the similar ideas and place the information within those sections. It's up to you that either when you are writing a literature review, it's up to you whether you want to separate sections where one narrative of authors is discussed and other section is other narrative of authors is discussed, or you can also make sections of literature review based on the theories or based on the ideas. Quantitative and qualitative. Always note if the study was qualitative or quantitative. Note if study is experimental, non-experimental. If an experimental, however, absolutely assigned to those conditions, causes and effect, correlation, reliability, validity, sampling, demographic, statistics, significance. So when you quote any study, specifically those study which is directly related to your study, then provide this information as well. Because simply saying blah 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 researcher found a significant difference, it is not useful. It does not demonstrate anything. So you need to provide whether that study, what kind of study that was, and what was the sample size, and what is the effect size. APA style is also suggests that when you write your result, you should also provide an effect size. So those papers which are published in well-reported journals, usually the editor asks the researcher to write an effect size. So which means that when you read the articles, the effect size will be provided in the result section. So when you write the result section in your literature review, provide an effect size, because effect size tells the magnitude of effect, whether it's a correlation or differences or cause and effect. The effect size tells the magnitude. Being specific with the references. Numerous authors determine that current international space laws allows for too many holes for the weaponizations to occur. See how many citations are there, in-text citations are there. It is better to provide only specific references. It can be 2, 3, 4, even 5, but do not make a long list of in-text citations within one sentence. And this is again another in a different way. Final checklist. What should you write? Final checklist. Have I fulfilled the purpose of literature review? Because the purpose of literature review is to provide a ground for the richness of your study and find the gaps and tell the reader how this gap can be fulfilled by your researcher. So this is the purpose which I also mentioned in the first few slides. So when you do when you have done your literature review, ask yourself: have the purpose has been fulfilled? Is the written at all level appropriate to its audience? Are its effects correct? Are the facts correct? Is all information included relevant? So these are the checklists you can check at the end of when you've done your literature review. Before you go, quick thing: write one thing you will take away from this workshop or this video. So I would request you and suggest you to write in your comment section what have you learned so far and how this video or this lecture can be improved further. So I'm looking for your comments, I'm looking for your suggestions, and please don't forget to write one thing that you have learned from this video. Thank you so much.